You're listening to News New Mexico, where our business is New Mexico's business.
Launch Control, this is Houston. We are go for launch.
Hold on to your lug nuts. It's time for an overhaul.
Turn it up, son.
I'm your huckleberry. I don't give jobs, I hire men. You won't give me anything, and I won't give you anything.
Collision, sir.
Whoa, relax. We're not even moving.
There's no crying in baseball.
We are News New Mexico. It's Tuesday, December 13th, 2011. Jim Spence is here. I'm Michael Swickard. Rachel Pulaski does a lot of our research work. Our news site is newsnm.com. Herman Cain, we're quoting him today because it's his birthday. He was born in 1945. Stupid people are ruining America. And, of course, at this time in 1972, our own, New Mexico's own Jack Smith was on the moon, and he was singing.
I was strolling on the moon one day.
There he is.
In a merry month of December.
Marita Dune, welcome.
Welcome to you. It's good to be with you.
It's
Thank
good.
you.
Energy makes America great.
Org.
Okay, we have to.
And I heard you get it right earlier there, so
I slipped.
You got it down.
Oh, I slipped. I didn't mean for you to hear that. Please disregard that. We always go through this. Energy makes America great, which it does, especially when you look back 70 years ago today and realize the big gift was battery-powered radios because their electrical supplies were a little iffy at that time.
And batteries are a part of that energy that makes America great as well.
So, Marita, we're looking at the column that you wrote this week. We posted it on newsnm.com, and you're talking a little bit about the latest climate change conference. And you quote The Economist magazine, which is a British magazine, as saying that the latest conference is more about saving the circus than saving the planet. What do you mean by that?
Great quote. I was so thrilled when I found that quote.
So what do you mean about saving the circus instead of saving the planet? Can you help us learn here?
I would love to. Thank you. Yes, basically the entire concept of climate change has lost its scientific emphasis or validation through the various leaked Climategate emails, as they call them. There's Climategate 1 and then most recently Climategate 2 that have shown that the documentation has been falsified. Some of it has been ignored because it didn't fit within the predetermined outcome. And so what they have done is entire industries now are dependent upon this Climategate sham continuing. And if we admit that, you know what, the planet hasn't gotten warmer. Instead, it's gotten cooler. If we admit that we haven't had tens of thousands of global warming refugees as we were going to have, and if we admit that all of this stuff really is not a problem, then why do we need primarily renewable energy? And so the wind and solar industries in particular have a vested interest in keeping this debate raging on. And so they have these meetings now every year. Last year was Cancun. The year before that was Copenhagen. Next year it'll be Qatar. And so they have these meetings where all the environmental ministers come together, and they're supposed to come up with a big plan because the Kyoto Protocol expires towards the end of 2012. And so this meeting in Durban, South Africa was supposed to be kind of the big, okay, this is our last push. We've got to get something through here. And they have tents and meetings and fancy brochures and dinners and so forth. And so really it has become quite a circus.
So, Marita, you look at the news headlines today, and at one of our favorite sites, we find that Canada is pulling out of the Kyoto Protocol, and they've decided to pocket the $14 billion instead of staying in on the treaty. When we come back, I want to talk about that because that is major news.
Marita Noon, Energy Makes America Great.org. We are News New Mexico. You can go to our website, newsnm.com. We are News New Mexico. It's Tuesday, December 13th, 2011. Jim Spencer, I'm Michael Swickard. On the Newsmaker line, Marita Noon, Energy Makes America Great. Org. All right.
So, Marita, let's talk about this latest climate change conference some more. Canada is pulling out of the Kyoto Protocol, but there was a little bit of, I don't know, what I would call false optimism surrounding China's involvement. Why don't you talk about China and Canada and how they play into this climate change thing?
Well, certainly. Canada is the newer news because it just came out yesterday after everybody had gotten home from Durban, South Africa. And let me just say, I did before I wrote this article, I did an informal poll on my Facebook page. And I asked, how many of you are following COP17? Yeah, just yes or no. And I put, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, put no. Well, of course, all but one put no. And the one who put yes is in politics. So, basically, we could say the average person had absolutely no clue that for the past 2 weeks, the UN Climate Conference, the 17th annual UN Climate Conference, was going on in Durban, South Africa. Each and every morning, I review the Wall Street Journal and the Financial Times. Financial Times out of London, Wall Street Journal, obviously, out of New York. And it was very interesting that the Wall Street Journal had basically no articles whatsoever for the whole 2 weeks of the conference about the conference at all, about climate change, about that the issue is going on, where the Financial Times had a reporter there covering it, had an article every single day about the climate change conference. But the only one thing that the Wall Street Journal did report on is China. That China dangled kind of a carrot. There was kind of a tease for 16 years of this conference. China has repeatedly been, oh no, we don't count. We're a developing country. Don't count us in those carbon limits. For those who know so little about this, they don't even know what it is. The plan of this whole conference is to come up with a treaty by which all the developing countries, which is the United States, Canada, the EU, and Australia primarily, those of us who are the larger, prosperous countries, we're going to sign on to cut our carbon emissions. And if we fail, which we will do, we will then pay lots of money to the poor countries because we have supposedly ruined the planet. And that's kind of an overview of that. So that was what was going on at the conference. And this year, for the first time, China said, maybe we'll sign a treaty. Maybe we will. And so at the middle of the conference, that was kind of the big false optimism that came out that people were quite excited about. And the article said that China gave Durban a jolt of excitement.
Well, Marita, here's the question. It's 17th year they've been there, right? Have they called it climate change the whole 17 years, or was it called something else when it was first put together?
You're asking it like you know the answer, and it's a good question. I don't know, but I would assume it was not climate change because the phrase climate change only came into vogue when the world stopped warming, and they had to do something, as we said earlier, to keep the circus alive. Do you know the answer to that question?
Regrettably, no. But I'm going to bet that it started out, it was the global warming conference.
Well,
and all of a sudden,
ask Rachel. I bet she could find that quickly.
We will see if we can come up with that, because that's the thing.
I bet it was global warming.
I'm going to bet that too. Your next column is ready. I can see it. We have Marita Noon, EnergyMakesAmericaGreat.org. More with her when we get back. We are News New Mexico.
Now, how about lending this country $20 million, you old skinflint?
$20 million is a lot of money. I shall have to take that up with my Minister of Finance.
Well, in the meantime, could you let me have $12 until payday?
$12?
Don't be scared. You'll get it back. I'll give you my personal note for 90 days. If it isn't paid by then, you can keep the note.
We're dealing with high finance with the climate change. It kind of is like duck soup, isn't it, Jim Spence?
Yes. Yeah.
I'm Michael Swickard. That's Jim Spence. We're on the Newsmaker line. We're talking with Marita Noon, EnergyMakesAmericaGreat.org. See, I can be taught. Marita.
You can. You did well.
One of and because I've studied the Far East a lot, I speak a smattering of Japanese and Putonghua, which is the Mandarin Chinese, and have studied the cultures. When they said what they said, it didn't mean it, did it?
No, when they said, well, we might be willing, they left themselves plenty of wiggle room anyway. But no, China primarily is interested actually in keeping the circus going. As we know in this country, China has taken over a lot of the manufacturing of the solar panels. And one of the reasons is that they have a block on the market of one of the most important raw materials needed to produce solar panels, and that is rare earths. And it's obvious the public has lost interest in climate change as a problem.
Well, Marita,
yeah,
it's interesting that what's going on with Canada, because I think you can infer that the Canadian government, who was going to be on the hook for $14 billion, is getting tired of this circus and the clowns who are running it.
Yes, and they were one of the original signers of the Kyoto Treaty. So they originally were like, yeah, this is a good thing. We need to do this. But now Canada didn't say we're not doing this till the conference was over. And the reports say that was kind of with an agreement with Canada with the conference, because they didn't want to absolutely destroy the conference with this announcement. Now, we're running out of time, so let me mention real quickly that to bring this home here to New Mexico, yesterday and today going on in Santa Fe have been the EID hearings, where expert testimony has been given to repeal the greenhouse gas rule put on by Governor Richardson here in the state of New Mexico, and that's something that will raise our energy prices in the state. And so I definitely want to get out there the idea that anyone within the listening audience who can get themselves to Santa Fe tonight, and it may go on longer because the weather, we're not sure what's going on. Anyone that can email me if they want to go another night and say, is it still happening? Are the hearings still going on? And I will know. I don't know right now, but I will know. And I'll be up there, weather permitting, tonight in Santa Fe to give public comment. And it's really important that the board hear from the public that so they know as they're making the decision that they will make, whatever that decision will be, that they're making a decision that is what the people really want made. And so that's tonight at 6:30 at the old Para building across the street from the Roundhouse in Santa Fe.
Well, Marita, we got a text message from our colleague and contributor Bridget Russell. She says we are coming in loud and clear in Santa Fe on AM 1550 KIVA out of Albuquerque. Right. So they can hear us in Santa Fe. So those of you who aren't drinking the Kool-Aid up there in La La Land and want to go out and actually do something that would actually help energy policy and cost for consumers in the state of New Mexico, you can show up to that hearing and have your voice be heard.
Said another way, whichever side you're on.
There, Bridget.
Said another way, whichever side you're on, the hearing is being held. Go make your view known. All right. Marita Noon, EnergyMakesAmericaGreat.org. Thank you so much for what you do. Great book you've got. Go to our site. You can link to her new book. What's its name, Jim?
Energy Freedom.
Energy Freedom. Oh, I like the sound of that.